Welcome one all, my name is Tawess and we are back in mech painting land. We did a little detour through the barren fields of Warhammer 40k, but we are now back with big stompy robots. And this particularly big stompy robot is a Sentinel, a medium mech, 40 tons, by Defiance Industries. One of those oddly balanced things. It has an Ultra AC5, a small laser, and a streak as RM2. And for those observant, this means that it is a Star League mech, or a later era mech, because the streaks and the ultras were gone for a long time. Now, it is a fairly snappy medium mech, not the fastest, not the slowest, and reasonably well armed. It has perhaps a bit low. It's a bit low on ammo, perhaps, but that is what it is. Now, we are painting this Sentinel in the colors of the Lyran Regulars because the Sentinel was one of those mainstays for Lyran Commonwealth. So I thought it was fitting. Now, of course, the Lyran Regulars do have one of these fairly boring paint schemes with each. It's basically a drab green with a tan or khaki highlight. But, I mean, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. We start off with some Militarum contrast paint, of course, because that is proper. But to bring it into this sort of yellowish, greenish drab color, we hit it with some Venom Wyrm, and this gives it a slight yellow tint. The trick with this is, of course, to hit the flat areas and avoid the crevices in between, because you don't want to ruin all that nice contrast paint work you already did. But you know, that is standard business here, and the trick is to maintain the shadows, basically. If you muck it up, it's no worries. You can always hit it again with another wash of either black or brown or green. It's okay. Now, to get some popping going, we hit it with a mix 1-to-1 roughly Venom Wyrm and Witch Brew, and this just to brighten up the green a bit to make the just cleaner. You could skip this step if you don't like to, but I think you should do it because it gives a bit more dimension to the mech. Also, if you want to go the extra mile, you could apply this only in the areas where the sunlight would hit, giving it even more 3D feel. And you could finish that off with hitting it with a second go over of just Witch Brew. But we instead move on to the highlights. And we start off with Desert Yellow, a mustardy yellow that is nice for this sort of things. It's muted, it's very unaggressive, and all you really need here is a moist brush and a steady hand. Because painting straight lines is hard, apparently. Actually, it should be like that. It is hard. It is. Pinstriping is a technique that people spend years learning. But yeah, you can pick any area you want. I'm inspired by the unit compendium, and they have these long sweeping lines running across the cockpit area. So I thought I was going to do that. Again, keep brush fairly loaded and moist to have the paint run smoothly, and take your time. There is no rushing this, or at least there's no real rushing it. Don't rush it if you don't need to. You don't need to rush this, you can take your time. If the brush is properly wetted, it will keep the paint fresh for long enough, and if it gets sticky and starts to misbehave, just rinse it out and get some new paint. I apply about 2 layers of this to get a solid outline, but again, your mileage might vary. You can also add as many other lines as you like. there is no upper or lower limit to this, you just go with what you feel right. Now, to highlight this, we make a mix of Desert Yellow and Skeleton Bone, a 1-to-1. Also should mention, unless it says so, the paints are Army Painter. I will put on Citadel or any other company as a deviant. But yeah, pretty much just mix these two together and apply on top of your Desert Yellow. Try to make a smaller line if you can, but it doesn't really matter if you happen to go over the line. I mean, these are big machines after all. And this stage is definitely one of those where you take it slow, because at this stage it's difficult to correct mistakes. And it could be annoying to try and get things right, but you know, it is still what it is. Just take your time, go slow, and you'll have some nice, clean, crisp lines. And lines make military vehicles look good. You get this idea. Now, for the weapons, use whatever silver you want, if you do. I always paint my weapons silver because I like them to be silver. It makes it easy to identify what is a weapon and what is just a box on some mix. And yeah. Remember to paint the feet. Sometimes I forget to paint the feet because I was leaving that last because that's just me. Paint the feet. The feet are weapon too. If you have jump jets. And at this point, you can also add a few extra details if you want, because most of the mech is done. You can just look over it and see, do I want to put more things on? I was considering putting in the emblem for the 6th Lyran Regular. It's a little blue-white thingy roundel, but I decided against it because my freehanding is not that good. You know, you kind of have to go with the flow on that one. Now, apart from you want to get a printer and some transfer paper, but I can't be arsed with that. It's too much work. Now, I realized I didn't have the gold I needed for this, because again, I'm going to go back to painting my cockpits gold, and if you don't like it, well, then you can go somewhere. But I found I had this old Gehenna's gold laying around. And I mean, that was old. Like, properly old. So old had separated into its red and gold components. But that is why I want it. It has a reddish tone to it. Which, if you don't mix it up completely, will create a nice gradient effect by default. It barely coherent as a paint, but it pretty small areas doesn't really matter. So yeah, just apply that. Nice Gehenna's gold. Because, you know, it's nice. And I say, I know some people like to gem their cockpit windows, but I don't think there's a big enough area to make it worth gemming them. But each to their own. I do this, others do others. I'll stick to my gold cockpit windows going forward. I tried to do gemming and sometimes it works, but sometimes it's really not worth the effort. And of course, finish up the weapons with some Nuln Oil, because why not? I don't know how the new Nuln Oil will work, but for now, there is nothing like a good pot of Nuln Oil. I'm interested in trying a new one later once that runs out, but we are probably a year away from that. It does a lot. So, here we go. 1 Lyran Regular Sentinel. And with that, we wrap up for today. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, and do play fair. Bye.